You didn't quit smoking if you vape. I can't believe I even have to say this, but so many people are proudly claiming to have quit smoking, but still happily vape all day long. If you use vaping as kind of a pit stop to quit altogether as a later date, that's completely fine by me, but as long as you vape, you didn't quit. It's as simple as that. The health risks of vaping are obviously less than those related to cigarettes, but they're still there. Edit. From what I've seen so far, there are a lot of currently smoking/vaping people that agree with me, and a lot of other people that disagree, mostly arguing about the way I worded it. I must admit I could have worded it better, but I didn't have a lot of time to make my original post. For those of you that mentioned it, yes, you did technically quit smoking, but it's the same habit. You're inhaling stuff that doesn't belong in your lungs, and it's harmful to your body. For those mentioning nicotine patches, this is not what I meant. Nicotine patches keep your addiction going, but as far as I know, they're not harmful. What I really meant is that the current medical consensus is that vaping poses entirely different risks as those posed by smoking, but risks nonetheless. The full extent of those risks is not yet known due to a lack of long-term study, since vaping is quite a new thing. So those that stopped smoking and started vaping proudly proclaiming they've quit are still indulging in the same bad habit of inhaling toxic materials that do not belong in your lungs. For more information, I highly recommend a video about smoking and vaping by the Brew YouTube channel. Edit 2. For those of you that keep bringing up that vapor and smoke are different things, it's a completely moot point, and it doesn't matter for the point I'm making. Vapor is liquid particles in air, smoke is solid particles in air. You're still inhaling stuff that shouldn't be inhaled. You've quit smoking, but you didn't quit nicotine is maybe a better way of putting it. It's still less harmful. No. You did stop smoking. You started nicotine replacement therapy. In what fucking world is nicotine vapor the exact same as tobacco smoke? List the carcinogens. Name the cancer patients. This belongs on a stupid takes sub. Vapor is not smoke. They are different forms of matter. If you're categorizing any act of nicotine intake as smoking, would it then be logical to claim that using a nicotine patch is smoking? If ingesting poison in your body is smoking, then is drinking alcohol smoking? If you don't smoke anymore, and instead vape, then you did indeed quit smoking. Smoking and vaping are two completely different things. It's better to go to a lesser harm than stick with the greater harm. If the vape has 0% nicotine, then yeah, they quit. You keep saying recent medical studies have shown that vaping is very harmful, yet you've failed to link a single study so far, let alone an actually reliable, well-conducted one, as most regarding vaping that I've come across are not. And I would be willing to bet that any of the sources you do find will be specifically referring to black market/bootleg cartridges/THC carts that used vitamin E oil to cut costs, a practice that does not occur/is not allowed in mainline brands and the vast majority of what people are actually consuming. You also keep repeating the notion that people used to think cigarettes didn't cause cancer either, which is simply disingenuous as an argument because, while true for cigarettes, it was also during a time period where our scientific community and research/technology was extremely less advanced, and the properties and effects of the chemicals in cigarettes were not anywhere near the level of understanding that we currently have for them. The same goes for VG/PG, two substances that we have been using for a very long time in a number of different applications. To suggest that the situations with vaping and smoking are anywhere near the same thing is completely false and ignorant to the leaps and bounds that science has made. Is there the slight possibility that vaping, a method of energy release with which we're very well acquainted, being used to ingest PG/VG, substances we are very familiar with, instead of the other methods that we've used them in the past, will somehow result in some completely unexpected and unforeseen, critically dangerous long-term risk? Sure, it's a possibility. Aliens visiting Earth today is also a possibility. A black hole opening up and swallowing New Mexico is also a possibility. Are any of these things likely? No, not really, based on the information that we have available to us, which is magnitudes greater than it was back in 1950. Exponentially so. Edit. Ultimately, while I can agree with the statement that inhaling anything at all that is not pure air is more harmful than not doing so, I absolutely disagree that someone who is vaping has not quit smoking. Mainly because it's simply factually incorrect, per the literal definition of smoking. But, more on the philosophical side, also because nicotine is not physically harmful in any significant way that merits its comparison at anything close to the risks of smoking. In fact, alcohol, sugar, and many medications are far more likely to be a major risk factor and health concern in essentially everyone's situation. So while you certainly can make the argument that anyone who vapes is choosing to make a harmful decision and is being detrimental to their health, in order to be consistent and objective, you would need to also say that anyone who eats sugar or drinks alcohol or eats too much red meat is also akin to a smoker. Otherwise you're simply making an emotional judgment based on personal biases and preconceived notions, rather than factual evidence. You can't ignore the massive disparity in the risk associated with the vaping that applies to the vast majority of users and the risks associated with smokers, without also recognizing all the numerous steps/things in between where you'll find sugar, alcohol, etc. So it becomes apparent that you're choosing to cherry-pick your information in order to support your personal feelings and opinions. Because you think vaping is dumb, or you're not a fan of the smell or culture or look of it, or some other reason. Who knows? But it's not honest or objective to claim that vaping is anywhere similar to smoking, or that those that have chosen to stop inhaling thousands of harmful chemicals, various carcinogens, and tar, are even remotely making the same risk decision by vaping. Edit 2, I will amend my above statement where I said that you were the one who referenced medical science/public opinion from the 1950s. It was not you. My mistake. Everything else I said still applies though, and there are several comments of you stating so. Hopefully you don't plan to edit your comments to remove those statements, since the comment below shows you're clearly trying to pretend you never said such things. But in the event you do edit them, others can see the quote below I grabbed from just one example. Also remove edit. Com is useful to see edited comments/changes, if anyone is curious. The health risks of vaping are obviously less than those related to cigarettes. That's kinda the point of switching. It's an unpopular opinion because it's definitively wrong. For me, there was a huge difference going from smokes to vape. I had more energy, generally felt better. The risks to one's health are significantly less than cigarettes. And the nicotine content is up to the user. I started with 26 mg per ml, using around 2 ml a day, which is way less than nicotine in a pack. The juice I have now is 15 mg per ml, but I'm starting to switch in the 5 mg. I tried for 18 years to quit, very desperately at times. Most times felt like an impossible hardship. Most of it felt like suffering and being dizzy and headachy, even after weeks of quitting. Stopping smoking is like going on a permanent diet of just eating nothing but lettuce. It sucks no matter how you want to paint it, and eventually you'll have to give in to something else. Vaping is the only thing where I can see I'm using less nicotine, I am comfortable without cigarettes, and I can actually see a future where I don't smoke.